They're going to talk a bit more about themselves and then they'll start. Yeah.
Okay, so first we're going to introduce ourselves, and then we're going to talk just one by one for a little bit about our background. So my name is Robin. I was a student here for a number of years. I went to Pasadena City College for about 3 years, and I transferred out here. I finished my credentials, and then I got a job out at Northridge High School in the city of Covina. This is my first year of teaching, and every one of us is in a different process in our teaching careers. And for me, I haven't finished my first year yet. I finished here in about June, and in about 2 months, that's the anniversary of my first year of teaching. And yeah, we'll talk about more individually in a second.
So my name is Kelvin Flores. I teach up in Santa Clarita. I teach at Arroyo Seco Junior High School, feeds into Saugus High School. This is my second year, and I came to CSUN too.
I'm Stephen Hufford. I teach at Canyon High School, which is also in Santa Clarita in the Heart District. It's my 5th year teaching. It's my 4th year at that school. I had 1 year at Antelope Valley in Lancaster before that. Yeah, I think that's everything. Yep, all right.
Okay, so since I'm the youngest teacher out here, I'm going to go first.
That's how it works.
So here's a quick handout. I'm going to pass this around. It's a little bit of information about my education and about the topics of what I wish I did differently while I was in college. Okay, so I'll give it a second for the papers to go around. Okay, so at the very top, it gives a little bit about my education. So I went to Gabrielino High School. I graduated in 2009, and like I said, I went to PCC for 3 years. I did all the ensembles there. I did the marching, I did the concert band, the small ensembles. I took lessons, and then I transferred out here to CSUN. While I was here, I was in the Wind Symphony, the Wind Ensemble, the percussion ensemble, the choirs, and as many ensembles as I could. And one of the things about things to do differently, one of the things I put in here as well are the things that were effective. So then on the right side, the things that really helped me while I was in college, was the very first one, it's kind of outside of schools, by going out to different schools and teaching as many schools as possible. And the reason why I did that was to go out and see different programs, work with different band directors, work with different students, different communities, and different students of different socio-economical backgrounds. And that really helped me because it gave me a chance to just to work and kind of apply what I learned in college. So when I learned something in school, I got to apply it right away while I was at PCC, while I was at CSUN. So that was one of the really big things that helped me. And then as I look back into my early years of college, the things I'm doing now in my first year of teaching really helped me because I got out so many times. And then over the course of college, you take your methods classes, and then all the instruments that you play, you really learn them because you're going to be teaching them at some point. So all the clarinet stuff, the woodwind stuff, during those methods classes, I played those a lot. And then my primary instrument is euphonium. And then I remember my first semester in the wind ensemble, I was taking woodwind methods, and I played oboe. I played more oboe than I did euphonium. And that was kind of a problem with my lessons because going into my lesson, it was like, yeah, I'm not quite prepared as I should. So the first couple of weeks of the semester, I did a lot of oboe. And then when the ensembles began picking up, when the concerts started coming up, I really had to pick up on my euphonium playing because, again, oboe and euphonium embouchures are very, very different. So that's one of the things that I did while I was in college. And then taking strings and percussion was a little different because there's no detriment to your embouchure. So when I had viola for string methods, I played that a lot. And, about 2 hours every day, I just have to rate the viola. And the more chances I had to do that, I really tried. Okay. So again, playing different instruments for longer periods of time, and then practicing for your ensembles. Because when you're sitting in an ensemble, you're going to be teaching that in your work life every single day. So then when you're sitting there in a rehearsal, I would always watch the rehearsal techniques. I would hear different sounds, what a good clarinet sound is, what a good flute sound is, what a good French horn sound is, and how to play in tune, and what in tune really is. And then when I was in the ensemble, that was something that I would always do. Here with Dr. Stoffel, I would watch how he rehearsed. I would hear all the other sections, and and I would apply it to my teaching. And everything that I'm doing now, I'm looking back to see what Dr. Stoffel would have done and what an ensemble sounds like. And then another big thing I put that was effective during college was a financial thing. Again, we're all poor at some point you're going to be a poor college student. And again, one of the things I did, I spent money on things that I really needed. I never really went out, bought a lot of things. I just got the things that I needed. My personal euphonium that I bought was a little bit lower in price. It's a great horn, but when I went out and bought it, it was a little bit more affordable. And that was one thing I did. That way I wouldn't have to worry about working so much. The time that I would work was working meaning as a job was really put into a high level. That way I didn't have to keep looking for hours. Yeah, and then between classes I would always just kind of study. I would never really go off campus, and I would practice during the 3-hour breaks between classes. So those are some of the things that really helped me while I was in college. And now for the topic of this clinic is what to do differently. Because one of the things that college really doesn't teach you are all the administrative things. And as I look back within my first year of teaching, that's one of the things that I really wish I had looked into for a little more time. And one of the big things is about school structure, about principals, assistant principals, and counselors. Because as music teachers, you're going to have to put together all your classes, how to deal with students, how to work with parents as well. And then I kind of wish that while I was at all my different schools that I work with, aside from the teaching part, aside from the music part, was how the school structure really worked, about who's in charge of what areas, who put together classes, and who students can go to when they need help. And those are all the administration people, the principals, the assistant principals, and the counselors. At the current school that I'm at Northview High School, it's about 1,300 students. We have 1 principal, 2 assistant principals, 2 full-time counselors, and 1 part-time counselor. And then I go to them on a weekly basis just to do whatever we have to do for the students, right? And then another thing that I kind of look back and wish I did a little differently was meeting people who are outside of the teaching profession. So people who are in the business side of music, who are people who aren't necessarily teachers. People in the technology world. There's a lot of great things out there that you really need in the classroom, and it's kind of the people that are on the business side rather than the educational side of teaching. And then the third one down was about learning about disciplinary actions. And again, within my first year of teaching, one of the hardest things that I look back is how to deal with students who aren't behaving. And then counselors and the assistant principals always tell me, make sure you call their parents, make sure the parents are always informed, make sure that you're always following the certain procedure as far as how to discipline a student. Because again, at my school, within my first year, a lot of students really should not have been in my classes, and now they're not quite invested within the program, and it's hard for me to figure out as a teacher on how to get them to do what they need to do. And then working with the counselors, working with the assistant principals about how to follow through with the procedures was one of the big things that I'm learning in my first year of teaching. And nothing here in the undergrad or the credential really taught me those things. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm struggling with this year. Just on Friday, I had to email to the counselors about how to deal with these students who just really aren't participating in class. And one of them is special ed, so it's a whole different world of education. So as I look back, that's kind of one of the things that I wish I learned. And then big things about money. Learn about the financial aspects. One of the things they don't teach you in school, because in school they teach you about all the music stuff, the theory, the harmony, the piano, but nothing really about how to manage money. Because music teachers are one of the few teachers on campus that really have a big financial thing, especially if you're at middle school. If you're at a high school, you have sports, you have A as B, but in middle school it's a little bit different, where you as a teacher might be the only one that really deals with a lot of money, and how to handle that money, how to keep track of that money, and how to bring in money, and how to spend that money, and what to spend the money on. And one of the things I really can only learn from someone who's already in the field, and again, they don't really teach you that in school. So as I look back to one of the biggest things that I'm learning, and with me being at a high school, we have the marching band component, we have boosters, so we have to understand how to fundraise, and how to spend that money, and how to properly file taxes, and how to do all that with the booster organization. And then one of the biggest things is festival as well, because most programs go out to festival during the spring. The process of what literature to play and what the procedure is when you go out. Again, I had my first festival back in March, and it was a big learning experience. It was a big learning curve. I listened to the tapes. I followed the procedures about how to go out to festival and what to play. So, yeah, I guess a couple of ideas that I had as I was thinking about this clinic. So, yeah.
My turn? Alright, so a little bit different perspective because I'm a junior high school teacher, and you know, a little bit less, a little bit more of a few things, a little bit less of a few others. So just my 2 cents on a few things that I thought of as I was preparing for this conference was, if I were to have a bag, okay, full of $100 bills, and I just dropped it right here in the front, okay, how many of you would be like, no, I think I'll pass, right? No, or no, you can go first, that's okay. Or like, I'll just take one, I think that's good enough, right? No, I'm sure you guys will all jump to it, right? Like, you know, push the other guys aside. So have that conviction, right? When you're going through this job, like make sure you ask a lot of questions. Your professors, right, they're highly intelligent people, they have a lot of experience. Don't hold back on the questions, okay? And as a teacher, as you all already know, you do like questions because it seems that they are engaged. So make sure you're asking plenty of questions about anything. Also, observe as much as possible, right? So every school is different, okay? So, you know, each of our schools have different demographics, different, you know, student populations. So as many, you know, positions and as many different circumstances that you can, you know, observe, I think that's going to serve you well. Because maybe, you know, maybe my school is not a Canyon High School, okay, or whatever. And so if you can see like, oh, I remember how we did that, like, I think that was a really good idea. So make sure you transfer those ideas to other places. Be open to just, you know, things that are outside of the instrumental and choral realm. So I know we all go into this thinking like, yes, I'm going to be the best, you know, band director, the best choir director. But, you know, the reality nowadays is that, yes, you're going to have to teach guitar or, you know, some kind of general music. So my class schedule is a beginning band, an advanced band, and 3 10-week-long exploratory classes. We're trying to, you know, change that up, but it is a process. So be open to teaching those classes, because for you as a new teacher, it's probably, the question is not, will I be teaching those, but when will I be teaching those classes? So make sure you're open, you know, your doors for that, and so you're getting prepared for those classes. Also, be open to suggestions. I know you know, I'll raise my hand first, saying that I thought when I was going to my job, like, oh yeah, I am amazing, like I'm gonna nail it, I'm going to be, you know, the next, I don't know, Frederick Fennell or something, right? But no, like, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and so be open to those suggestions. A lot of these, you know, a lot of new teachers are like, no, like, I went to college. You see, like, I did my student teaching, okay? Like, and so you gotta be like, no, you gotta accept, right, the suggestion. It's kind of like when you go to a master class, right? And so you may agree or may disagree with the clinician that's giving it, but you know, kind of try it out as you're there, and then if it doesn't work for you, then you kind of leave it. But make sure you do take those suggestions that you get from your mentor teachers, from, you know, anyone. So, I don't know, just a thought. Also, make sure you're continuing to go to these workshops and conferences. I know they can be long, and they can be, you know, sometimes financially draining. And, you know, I'm sure you're busy with all your preparation for colleges and all these different things, but, you know, they do help you out a lot. And if anything, just to meet new people. So, like, you know, next time you're at CASMEC, say hi. Because they really do build on that, you know, relationship and professional networking. Very, very important. All right, also, speaking of relationships, build relationships with the colleagues, the people you have around here. So these people, right, the people that you have met today, or that you currently know, like, they're the ones that are going to kind of like give you insights as to job openings, or kind of maybe recommend you, right, later on in life. So the school that I feed into, we're actually really good friends, and we met here actually at CSUN. So his name is Jay Jarrett, and so we have that really great connection. Since we were able to bond here, like, our students benefit from that so much, because he comes over to my school, I go over to his school, and because we have that bond, we're able to do that. Also, I personally believe that your first day of your career is the first day of college. Because again, if, you know, people see you as like a slump, like, oh, he doesn't work hard, like, he's not committed to this, they're not going to recommend you. So make sure you give their best every single day, even while you're still in college. Okay, because your first, you know, day of your career starts right now. Okay, so that's something that I would share with you. Also, have a mentor. So once you do have your job, okay, make sure you have a mentor that you can just go to him or her and say, hey, so my kids are doing this, what should I do? Or even if it's someone outside of music, let's say it's the, you know, the teacher next door, because we do tend to get a little lonely being the only music teacher generally, right? So make sure you go, have someone and just like, I just need to vent with you because I'm having a really hard time. And sometimes just that vent is very, very important. Okay. Also, maybe look for someone. Try to pick one person out. It could be a music person or a non-music person, but just have that person for support because that first year is going to be rough. Okay. I'm just going to tell you that now. I'm sure you already heard that before. Okay. And again, I was like, no. I don't believe in this like just survive thing. I believe in thrive, not survive. And maybe some of you will do that. That's great. But you will make mistakes. Okay. That's a guarantee. You will make mistakes. So just be prepared for those mistakes. Learn to forgive yourself. Okay, so no one is perfect, and I still make mistakes. And hopefully, maybe you'll be better than me. But I made a lot. So when you do, make sure you learn to forgive yourself. Very, very important. Because even today, I was like, oh man, I wish I could have done this differently, or why did I do that? Or I see other veteran teachers, and they're doing like amazing things. Like Mike Freed here was telling me about his composition project, and I was like, wow, like. His kids are so lucky to have him. Like I'm not nearly at his level. So learn to forgive yourself and kind of like learn from these people. Okay, so learn from these different mentors or guys that you have, friendships. Also, you can't be a good leader if you're not a good follower. Okay, so you can't be a good leader unless you're a good follower. So learn how to follow. As you are doing your student teaching, make sure you follow your master teacher like if you were his or her shadow. Okay. Make sure you kind of like get in there. Make sure you're really, really invested in what you're doing because they're the ones that are gonna give you the recommendation. So make sure you see what they do. One teacher, I thought it was funny. She said that having a student teacher is kind of like when someone is like an open house and they can go through all of your dirty laundry, right? Because you see everything. So make sure you kind of take advantage of that because I think most mentor teachers are willing to kind of show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Alright, so make sure you kind of like, you kind of ask questions and you kind of see, okay, well, what do you do here? Something that I wish I would have asked was, like, how do you respond to an angry parent email? When when the parent is saying, like, why did Susie not get first chair? Like, she deserves, that chair. Like, how do you respond to that? Or how do you respond to this other thing? Like, I wish I would have asked him that. So make sure you ask as many questions as you can. And one more thing. When you're in your classroom, like that is your territory, okay? That is like you are the top guy, you are the man. So have confidence and be firm. I'm still working on this myself, but as a second year teacher, like I've grown so much in confidence, and I think the students want you to be very structured, okay? And they're looking, right? They're expecting you to have that structure and that confidence, because if you don't show that, then they can sense it. I remember one time I went to go cover for another teacher, and one of the first comments, one of the students was like, oh, he looks nervous. Okay, so like they sense it, okay? And junior high school kids don't, they don't hold back. So, yeah, so make sure you have that confidence, and you show them that you're kind of like in charge, in a polite way, of course, right? But make sure you demonstrate, your confidence and you're firm. Some parents are also going to see you as like, maybe not as experienced, right, since you're all young. But make sure you kind of hold your ground and you show them like, no, I am the director and this is the way we're doing this. Okay, again, in a nice way. Because the saying goes, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Okay, so that's what I would suggest.
All right. Really quick, just so I know who I'm talking to, who plans to teach elementary level? One. Oh, very brave. Okay, raise your hand if you plan to teach middle school. Good. And then high school, I'm assuming the rest. Raise your hand if you have no idea what you're doing here. Yeah. I feel that way too. I've taught, this is my 5th year. Sometimes I still feel like that. But the biggest thing that I'm going to start with is I think you should specialize. If you know what you want to do, start seeking opportunities outside of your classes and figure out what's going to help you be successful. At UCLA, they basically just give us very broad, general, one-size-fits-all kind of a class. I don't know what it's like here. I don't know what it's like at some other universities. But their goal is to make sure wherever you end up that you can do something, right? So if I had gotten an elementary choir job, I could survive and teach, but I wouldn't feel nearly as comfortable because that's not what I was aiming to do. So just a little bit on my background. When I was at UCLA, I made sure to seek out some extra opportunities. I did the elementary honor band in Santa Monica. I was the percussion expert for that. I wanted to work with, I didn't know if I wanted to do elementary or high school, which I know is completely different, but middle school teachers, I just don't know how you do it. Those kids, they're just like in the middle, I don't know. They're harder to deal with for me anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lot of
so
energy.
elementary honor band, I just wanted to kind of get my feet in the water. I did an outreach program. I don't know if they have something similar here, but the way it worked was a group of friends, music ed students, and I would go drive out. It was in Compton, and we taught 4th grade violin, percussion, and vocals. So we were able to, once a week, go out and practice our skills, and we were not observed, by the way. So just imagine, like, okay, you're going to that school, good luck, we'll see you on the other side. And then they show up to the concert, right? And you have once a week for 10 weeks and then a concert with like 40 kids running around, not really knowing what they're doing. So it was a really good experience for me. I conducted the symphonic band at UCLA, and I was drum major of the marching band. And for me, I knew I wanted to do high school. I knew I wanted to teach marching band. I knew I wanted to do band since I was in high school. So for me, those were good opportunities to kind of figure out where I was going. Things I wish I had done. So I have a unique experience as a 5th-year teacher. I've had a student teacher as well as I've already student taught. So I was able to take what I didn't learn and try to apply that to somebody else. But I'll tell you what I wish I had done. When I was student teaching, it was at Santa Monica High School. And those of you that don't know that program, it's massive. So they have 4 or 5 concert bands, they have 5 now. They have a separate orchestra director, 4 or 5 orchestras. They have separate people that do jazz. It's like kind of like college, where everything's kind of compartmentalized. It's all different. So I was with one of 2 concert band directors, and so I wish I had the opportunity to do more with jazz and orchestra. So if I could go back, I would go talk to those other teachers that weren't my master teacher, and I would say, hey, can I observe? Can I do something? I just want to make sure I have this opportunity. I don't teach orchestra now, but eventually I would like to, so I wish I had that opportunity to get the knowledge that would help me later. Yeah, so it's your job to specialize. So if right now you know you want to be an elementary teacher, go find somewhere to volunteer even, or better if there's like some sort of paid position you can help out, just so you can get more experience, so you know what you're getting into. By the way, 50% of what you do, at least for me, is actually teach. Has anyone told you that yet? No? Yes?
It's tough.
Yeah. So I would say the other 50% is administrative. So that's all the stuff Robin was talking about. They don't tell you that. So you need to be ready for that. So some things that I'm talking about. For me with marching band, we go on 7 trips every year. So that's just with marching band. So I never was taught how to figure out how to order buses. How many buses do I need? Who do I talk to? How do I get medical forms? When do I tell the parents? Oh, that you need to tell the other teachers. Because guess what? If you suddenly say, little Johnny's not coming to class today, they don't really like that. I found that out. So you always want to make sure you're able to communicate with them. Working with administration, like Robin was saying again, how does the structure work at the school that you're going to work with? The counselors are in charge of the classes at my school, but I know in another school in the district, the assistant principal is the one that handles the master calendar. So you have to figure out who does what, who do I need to talk to for different parts of what you do. I know it's different at every school. So I have, our school has a principal, 4 assistant principals, and one of them oversees me, but one of them oversees facilities, and one of them oversees the master calendar. So if I need to fix something with a class, I have to talk to a certain person. If I need to fix something with the Performing Arts Center, I have to talk to somebody else. So it's really important to start figuring that out. The best way to do that, when you're student teaching, go with your master teacher whenever they go to the office. I know it sounds like something you don't want to do, and you probably don't, and I get it, but if you do it now, it'll be a lot easier for you later. Okay, let's see. Budget. Out of my band's budget, 5% comes from the school. And I'll be open with numbers. We have about a $100,000 budget. We get $5,000 from the school. The rest comes from fundraising. So you have to know how to work with boosters. You have to know how to put on fundraisers. There's a website called Donors Choose. I would write that down. It's a really great site that you're able to put a project on and people can just donate to it. And at one point, if it's around Christmas, people tend to just donate a lot, and it's good for them for taxes as well. And
Is it .org?
yes, donorschoose.org. And at one point, Bill and Melinda Gates went on there, and they just paid for everything, just because they can. They were like, okay, all projects funded. So through that, I've gotten probably close to $8,000 worth of stuff that I wouldn't have gotten, and it's completely free for you to make an account, so I'd look into that. There's things like Kickstarter. I don't know how well those work for schools, but things like that help as well. Talk to your principal about different funding opportunities so that they're aware of it and they're open to it. Communicating with parents is another big thing. Like Kelvin was saying, they will email you about things like that. I know it sounds like a joke, but it's absolutely not. I've gotten emails saying, why does my kid have an A- instead of an A in your class? Blaming me, like it's my fault that this kid has an A-. So you have to know how to deal with that. And you have to be nice. Because what you want to say is, shut up, your kid earned that A-, leave me alone. And then you delete that draft. Your second draft will probably be something like, I'm the teacher, go to school and get your degree and then talk to me. Then you'll delete that draft. And then you probably will end up with something like, here's the grading rubric that I used. You'll see that everything is laid out exactly how it's supposed to be. Here's where I evaluated your student. And then you send that off. So just be aware, that's kind of how things go. They're going to blame you for pretty much everything that goes wrong. For me, probably Robin also, dealing with other staff members, like I'm talking about like coaches that come in. That's something no one tells you how to do. You're essentially a manager when you're working with a marching band. So knowing how to talk to them and how to effectively get them to work together. Sometimes they don't like each other and you're like in the middle mediating. All those things, if you can talk to mentors, that would be a great thing to do. And then classroom management as well. Let's see. So resources. We've talked about conferences. Really important. Make sure you go to conferences. You're already here, so I don't really need to tell you that. But it's really important to network as well. Robin and I were just talking, and we have like 10 mutual friends that we had no idea we had until just now. It's really important to meet all these people. Music education is a really small world, and you're going to need to rely on each other to get through all this stuff. So networking's big. Mentors. I talked to Mr. Gangemi, if anyone knows him. I talk to him about literature all the time. What should I play with my band? And I'll rattle off some tunes. It's like, that one's awesome, this one sucks, that one's okay. And he'll tell me just straight out, this is what you should and shouldn't do, because as a newer teacher, you're not really gonna know. You're also gonna assume your band can play something, you're gonna pass it out, you're gonna read it, and you're gonna go, this was a terrible choice. Hopefully that happens before you get to festival. Sometimes it gets a little too far and you're like, I can't change this now. But the more you do ahead of time, the better with figuring out your literature. So talk to people, don't be afraid to ask questions. Your peers and colleagues, you need to have a support system. The first week of teaching felt like a month, and that's not an exaggeration. My first week of teaching felt like a month. It was the hardest time I've ever had. But I'm still here. I made it. So it's not all sad. But it's going to be tough. I know you're tired of hearing it, but you need to have somebody you can talk to. Because if it's just you, you're going to go crazy. You and the kids who are yelling at you, you're going to go crazy. So make sure to make those connections with each other. Just know, even if they're not saying it, your friend's sitting next to you, even though they're not telling you it's hard, they're going through the same thing you are. So just remember that. Because they might not admit it, but you can. And then one last thing, our systems are different. At UCLA, it's 4 years to get the credential and the undergrad degree, which is great, but you start by earning less money. So for me, I'm going back to fill in the gaps with American Band College. Has anyone heard of that program? It's a really great master's program. Down the line, I'd highly recommend it. It's very practical, so basically they'll play a sound of a trumpet player with an airy tone, and you have to say, okay, I would do this, this, and this to fix that problem. Did you go there?
I did not, but
No?
every single person I work with went there.
Okay, I thought, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, it is a great resource if you're ever available to talk to anyone who's done it. They can probably share some of those resources with you, where you can just test yourself and figure out how to fix these problems. It's very practical. Another one I really like is they'll play a chord that's slightly out of tune. Let's say it's 2 flutes and 2 clarinets, and you have to decide which one of them is sharp or flat and which ones are in tune. And so you're able to start practically using your ears, because these are real problems you're going to have when you actually get into a school, versus here you're probably not going to hear that so much. So some good resources for you. I'm going to sit back down, we'll answer some questions, and please feel free. I always have questions and I always reach out. I want to make sure you guys feel like you can too. It's really important that everything you want to know gets answered, because it's not getting any easier. And the only thing you can do is prepare yourself. All right, here we go.
I've heard that the first year or two that you're teaching, you have to do continued education.
Correct.
How does that go?
So it's different for every person. There's a program called induction, and then the old way of calling it is called BTSA. BTSA was the old one, but the new one is called induction. And what happens after you finish college, you only get a preliminary credential, and you have within your first 5 years of teaching to make it into a clear credential. And what the induction program does is just this long process. It takes a course of 2 years, and you have to provide documentation of your teaching, and it's nothing related to music. All teachers have to do it, no matter what area you're in. And it's called induction. And every district is a little bit different. I'll have them talk about it in a second. For me, I'm in the Covina Valley district, and we do not have an induction program within our district. So what I have to do, I have to go outside and pay a lot of money to do it from another district, and that's annoying. So the money that I'm getting from my school right now is getting fed out. I'll be open with numbers. For me, it costs $3,000. Okay, and that's for per year. So total is going to cost me $6,000 to do this. And it's what it is. You have to provide documentation. They look at your portfolio, and then you have a mentor that works with you as well. I was very lucky that my mentor is another high school band director, so he understands what we're doing. So it's for me, I got really lucky because I got another band director. Granted, it's his first time being a mentor, so it's kind of hard for him. But it's just it's a 2-year process in order to clear your credential. And then for me, my district doesn't have it, so I have to go out to another area to get that cleared. And I'll let them talk about it as well.
So for me, I'm in my 2nd year of induction, and I'm at the Hart District, and we're very fortunate that the Hart District is considered a model induction program. So meaning that they go to Sacramento and they kind of present what they're doing, and it's seen as a model for other districts. And we get it for free at my district, so we're saving $6,000 for everybody.
Again, one of the things they don't teach you in school, I was at new teacher orientation 2 days before the first day of school. I was like, oh yeah, our district doesn't have an induction program. So I'm like, what in the world? So I went out, I found it, I was a month behind. because I didn't know about this. I was a month behind, and then the fall semester was rough because both me and my mentor were both high school band directors, and we were both going through marching band. So during the spring, we caught each other up, and in 2 weeks, it's a chunk of my portfolio. So it's just providing documentation of what we're doing.
Yeah, mine's a little different because when you sign your contract with the district, before you even sign your contract, you're signing that you're going to do induction right away. So, like, it's kind of included with the package, but because it's free, they also demand a lot more of you. I don't know if you have to go to like a lot of meetings, but we have to go to meetings about maybe 2 times per month and go to extra professional development that is required of you. So I guess we do pay for it.
Yeah, for me, it's once a month.
We go, and we have to meet with our mentor teachers a certain amount of times per year and things like that. But the first year for me is a program that we in our district call PAR, which is someone that has been taken out of the classroom and their sole job is to go and be a mentor for like 5 or 6 different new teachers in the induction program. And they just go and they go observe. It's really cool because they give you feedback and they're kind of there for you as a support for you. But most of the time they are not music people. The second year, they pair you up with someone that is a classroom teacher. So they're doing their classroom, teaching at the same time as they're being a mentor for you. And I'm very lucky because this year, my mentor teacher was actually my junior high school music teacher. So it's really cool because we have that connection, and she's kind of like the gold standard as far as music in our district for junior high school. So that's kind of the layout. You have to do, in my district, like an exit interview, and you have to apply, and but it's not nothing too bad. Make sure, again, you're very open. I feel like the first year is kind of like to weed out the people that really shouldn't be teachers. So as long as you're being receptive to their comments and you're trying what they're doing, I feel like they'll be satisfied with your work.
Yeah, I've had very similar experience as Kelvin. I did start, so I taught 1 year in a different district. They also paid for that first year. Sorry. And then I transferred to the art district. So yeah, it's just about doing a lot of paperwork. Some of it is helpful, not all of it. Please don't find me. Basically, you go through your own rosters of kids and you have to identify the needs of your students. It's similar to PACT. Do you still do the PACT?
It's replaced with the TPA.
Okay,
which
TPA.
Is new. It's brand new.
I'm assuming it's similar to TPA, where you do things that are kind of the same, but now it's actually applied to what you're actually doing in your own classroom. So in that regard, it's good. A lot of it is busy work, paperwork that you have to get done. But your mentor should be able to help you. I had a drama teacher who was my mentor, which was still better than just a regular classroom teacher who teaches math or English, because they won't really understand what you're doing. But just know you're probably not going to get another music person, most likely. So a lot of things that they'll tell you, you kind of have to just nod and agree and just get through it, and then if you want to change it later, you're welcome to do that. So, okay. Yeah.
Can you find online which districts have induction programs included?
You should be able to. What I would recommend, if you can't figure it out, email their HR department or email the district office and just say, hey, I just want to know if induction is included in working for this district. And they should be able to tell you from there.
I have a question.
Sure.
I don't know if this is there's a camera, so I won't criticize it. But I know that you said you worked at a school for 1 year. Was there something about it that made you only stay 1 year? If you don't mind me asking?
I always knew, so chances are your first job isn't going to be the dream job. It happens for some people, they're very lucky. Most of us, it's not going to happen that way. For me, I never pictured myself living in Lancaster long term. It was something that I took the job because it had marching band, it had concert bands, it had potential for jazz band. So it had everything that I wanted experience-wise that I knew would help me move to another job of what I wanted. Because let's say you're going to the best high school around and you're interviewing there and they say, well, you've never taught before. And then let's say you go somewhere in a nice area and you teach elementary school and then you try to get this high school job with marching band and all this stuff, they're gonna say, well, you don't have experience in the areas that we're actually looking for. So for me, it was a matter of, okay, I wanna get the experience doing these things and then see what's out there. I thought it would be 3 years that I would be there, and then this opportunity kind of just fell into my lap, and so I interviewed and I ended up just taking it, so.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning about with me, on the very first bullet point, I said effective during college, going and coaching around different areas around Southern California. And I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, and then I went to Pasadena City College. The reason why I intentionally came to Cal State Northridge was because it's a completely different side of LA. One of the choices that I wanted to go to was Cal State LA. I grew up there, I lived there, but I wanted to go out to see different programs, and I'm really happy that I did, and the reason why because I got to learn about LAUSD, I got to learn about Santa Clarita, and I got to learn about Thousand Oaks. And all those different communities, the different economic backgrounds that really affect a strong program, I learned all through here. And then I actually student taught at Stevens High School. I student taught with his band director at Westlake High School. It's a really big program, it's a fairly wealthy area. And then I also coached at an area where the average household income was $40,000. So $40,000 entire household income was a very low income area, and I just figured out how the band director made things work. And then with that area and then the Westlake, it was a very wide range in between. So I really got a chance to see different areas. So again, going out and seeing different things will affect your first job as well, because the more you know about different areas, different demographics, it's really going to help you be successful in your first job. So don't be afraid to go out. Don't be afraid to leave the San Fernando Valley, because there's more out here within the 10-mile radius than just LAUSD, especially those that came from different areas of LA as well. Because for me, I came from an hour away, and then I wanted to learn about different areas. So then my next, the next few places I want to look at is the Riverside and the Orange County areas, because I've never been out there yet. So that's kind of my next exploration goals. That makes sense. But
One more quick follow-up based on what he was saying. Because the reason that opportunity fell into my lap is because during my first year of teaching, when I was super overwhelmed, I still forced myself to go out and observe, which I know sounds insane, like you're not gonna have time to go anywhere else or do anything, but I did. I went down to the Heart District and I went and observed teachers there, and I got to know them and they got to know me. So the second that job opened up, my phone rang, you know? So they already thought of me before that job even happened. So I would say it's worth it. If there's an area you want to teach, don't assume that you're going to your first year, but start making connections with people there so that they can help you get there. Networking is huge. Networking is way bigger than you think. In such a small community of band directors, who you know matters.
yeah, and don't be afraid to go out. Every Cal State's very different. Fullerton, Long Beach, Cal State Northridge, they're all very different. And yeah, don't be afraid to go out. There's more to music education than just Cal State Northridge. Not to be derogatory, but that is kind of personal opinion. That is kind of what I've noticed as well. There's more to school than just the university that you go to. So
Spring break is huge. Like my friend and I, we trade on spring breaks, so we have different spring breaks. So I went over to her school and helped out her students, and she came over to my school for her spring break. So it's really good, that collaboration with others too.
yeah, during my spring break, I went out and watched some other teachers. And then there's another high school within my district as well. Their concert band class is 0 period, and I don't teach during then. So I actually plan to go down there in the morning, kind of watch the veteran teacher, and then go back to my school and then start my day. Because it's the first year of teaching, there's always a lot. A biggest opinion that I say, the better you know your music, the more successful you're going to be. Because if you notice, none of us talked about music stuff. None of us talked about clarinet, none of us talked about ensembles, none of us talked about how to put a reed on a clarinet, because that's all expected. The content area that you teach is already expected of you. If you're going into a math class, you're expected to know math. And and we're all culprits of this. We always leave college not knowing everything there is to know about music, and that's just the realities of the music area. I mean, I don't know a lot about French horn, so I spent the semester playing the French horn with my kids. And the next semester I plan to play flute with my kids, because again, I don't know flutes, and I'm going to spend a very long time to really learn those instruments. So Yeah, the better you know your music now, the more, in personal opinion, the more successful you're gonna be. How to read a score, how to read both treble and bass clef right off the spot, because you know, when the trombone section's screwing around, you gotta teach them right there, okay? What's a C, 6th position, there you go. You know, what's a D, 4th position, you can't stop and think about it, especially when you're in like middle school or elementary, because they're gonna be all over the place. With high school, you can get away with it, because they're a little more mature, but with the younger kids, their attention span's a little bit shorter, so the music is kind of expected of you already, well, when you leave college. So when the methods classes come around, learn it during that time, because you're not going to have another opportunity. So, and again, I have friends that didn't do well in certain methods classes. Now they're struggling in their teaching. So it's, you know, learn it now while you're in college when there's nothing else going on. So, and just a personal opinion from the way I approach college, at least, and the way I approach my first year of teaching.
So, I guess I've only done, I think most of us have only done observing of classes because we've had to do those hours for our method classes. So, I guess is that something that's allowed to do outside, even if you're not taking a method class, to just call a school and ask if you can observe?
Yeah, it's, as a band director, I think it's flattering that somebody sends you an email or calls you and says, hey, do you mind if I come observe? They might be, you know, scared to show you what's actually happening. Sometimes that happens, but I think that they'll be really open to that. Because I'm assuming they're gonna feel the same way. We've all been there, we know what you're going through, we know what you're about to go through, and we wanna help you. Because it's just hard, and we know it's hard. So we're gonna do everything we can to make sure that you're more prepared than you would have been. So.
Yeah, and one way that I approach college as well is that you don't need to wait for a class to do something. You don't have to wait till a professor tells you to do something in order to do it. Does that make sense? A professor doesn't need to tell you to go teach to actually start teaching. Does that make sense? You know, just go out, find a place, and those teachers that you observe multiple times, you know, develop that connection, and you know, ask them, hey, can I teach? And from what I've noticed, most people are okay with it. Be careful not to intrude within their classroom. If you've been observing for a very long time, you know, you're gonna know how they teach, you're gonna know their language, you're gonna know their students, and actually try to integrate yourself in, you know, ask your teacher, hey, can I take, you know, this section and work with them for a little bit, start small and then work a little bit bigger, and especially those teachers that you've observed multiple times, and yeah, get to know them. There was one class that I had to do, it was EPC 420, it was educational psychology and a credential, and then we needed 20 hours in a class, so then I kept going to the same school, and then I think that teacher thought I wanted to student teach with them. I'm like, no, I don't care because I need 20 hours, so it's like, and then, yeah, I didn't know how to tell him. I think he thought that I was prepping myself to student teach with him, but that wasn't actually the case. I mean, I learned a lot from him, but I just, that wasn't my goal. I was trying to observe for a certain class. And yeah, don't be afraid to talk to people. And I mean, you can tell if the band, if they're nice and they're good with you, if you guys work well together, don't be afraid to take another step. You know, like, hey, can I work with this one student? I know this student is struggling. Can I work with them? I'm sure they'll enjoy it too, because now their student is getting better. Just make sure you're teaching them the right stuff. So make sure they're given the correct information, right?
I was just gonna add one quick comment. The schools that I work at, we've had some people come and observe, and it is amazing how much better the students behave and perform when they know they're being observed. If I can have a different person observing a class every single day, I might grab people off the street, say just sit there with a notebook and pretend to observe. The kids really pay attention when they know they're on the spot. And I don't know what your experiences are with that, but it's golden. I love it. So I know the teachers that I work with, when people call and say, hey, can I observe? It's not a problem. One thing I will mention is, depending on the district I work in, if you call the school and ask to do an observation, they will send you through the district office you have to get cleared just to go do an observation, which is kind of ridiculous. If you contact the band director or the string teacher, we have separate teachers for everything, but if you contact the teacher directly and they say yes, you just go sign in as a visitor. It's not a big deal, and it's just the dumbest thing, but just be aware of that when you're contacting. Different districts have different policies on ours, and ours got really weird. And I know when I was here at CSUN, a lot of people would come observe, because I was working at the high school, people would come observe, and then one person or two people made a mistake of going through the school, and they're like, we have to bring a copy of our TB test clearance, and it was like, oh my god, no, forget that. Just call the band director, he's fine with it, and then they just signed in as visitors. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, and then I think Dr. Weiner should know a number of teachers in the area, and then don't be afraid to go out. I mean, like I said, I was at Pasadena City College. We did not have any education courses, and I was already going out. And then when I came here, I'm like, what? There's a class that makes you observe, and I mean that was very new to me because I had already been going out for quite a few years before I came here. So you don't always have to wait for a class to go and do something. I mean, you don't need string methods to start learning violin. You don't need vocal methods to start learning how to sing. That's a big thing I have. And when you do go out, just be smart about it, be professional, make sure, and that could be your first lesson on professionalism, on how to interact with another faculty member at a school. Be smart about what you say. I mean, obviously the language you use with the teacher and with the students has to be a certain way, and that could be your first lesson on professionalism as well. So, yeah, just don't be afraid to go out. For me, that's one of the biggest successes that I've had. Just looking back, one of the things I wish I learned more was about things in the main office, about principals and then assistant principals. All the music stuff was really good with me, but all the other things was I'm learning on the job. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you're choral directors, but how would you recommend seeking out extra opportunities for those in the choral world? Because I feel like marching band, you have techs. Like my friend's been teaching percussion, marching band percussion since he was 19. But like I feel like there's like one choral director and they do all the bars.
Usually, there are a lot of schools that you can do both. Like my first job, I was the only music teacher. So I had a choir, I had somebody come and help me do the choir. But, so you can find people who do both. I think in middle schools, typically there are one director that does both. So that might be a good route. Or you can just talk to the band directors you know and say, hey, what do you think of the choir teacher at your school? Do you think they would be okay with me coming to observe? Like for me, I think if you ever wanted to come observe up there, our classrooms are right next to each other, you could see both and you could learn from both, and I think the choir teacher would be happy to do it, you know? So they're open as well, but I think you're gonna have to make some extra effort to learn that as well.
Yeah, because with choir, everything is within the school day, so then you usually your college classes and the public school classes are kind of the same time. So you would have to find a time that really coordinates well. I made a very strong effort to not have classes on Fridays.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect day to go out and then find a teacher that you work well with, that you know, and then spend every Friday as a day apart from Cal State Northridge to go out and learn. And again, if you're going to work with someone closely, I would recommend finding someone that is good and someone that you work well with. Because even with all the concert bands and the string classes being during the day, it is a little bit harder. For all the band people, marching band is always after school, so it makes it a lot easier. But for concert band, orchestra, and choir, it's all during the day. So find a time during the day where it's a little bit more open, and then communicate with that choir teacher and develop that connection is a big advice that I would give.
You said so eloquently. Yeah, definitely. So at my school, there's a separate choir teacher, and she teaches drama too. So all you choir people, and she does not have a music credential, which is even worse. She was a math teacher, and she was like, oh, the day before the semester started, she's like, hey, I know you play piano, so what do you think about being the choir director? And she kind of wanted to do that, so she said yes. But then this year, she was like, hey, choir director, I think you should do drama. And this at the January, they're like, hey, drama teacher, you should do a musical. And so they're always trying to spring things onto you. So again, making sure you're observing, and when you get there, make sure you kind of ask them, like, what are your extra things? I know a lot of choir teachers also teach guitar, okay? Or like jazz, like vocal jazz and things like that. So that's pretty cool. I would say go and observe those teachers and see kind of like how they do it, like what they do, what is their program like.
So it's one extra step. Another step you can do is see if the district has any money to offer, and maybe you can get paid off of it as well. Work sectionals for a period every day. They'll give us a small sum, and instead of just going there for free, maybe you can get a little bit of compensation with it as well. Because it's one extra step that we all have to take, but that's just one of the realities of the public school setting and being a college student at the same time. So, all right, one more. We're not leaving until someone else asks a question. I was kidding.
Go.
So for me, as someone in the credential program right now, and you're starting student teaching in the fall, what do you recommend or have advice for being ready for finally student teaching?
Be open to suggestions. I think as part of like what they were both saying, like going to observe a lot. I think we'll give you a really good clue as to who you can work well with. I remember I did a lot of observations with the thought of like, okay, what program kind of do I want a student teach in? So having an idea of who might be a good fit for you, that's going to be huge. But also just being willing to accept feedback. It's going to be sometimes a little uncomfortable because you're going to get up there and they're going to say like, oh no, like don't do it that way, or do it this other way. And sometimes you just have to take what they say. We had observing, very, very important. Record yourself. Very important. It can be very, very, again, very uncomfortable, and the last thing I want to hear is my own voice, right? But very helpful. Okay, so make sure you're recording yourself.
Do you know where you're student teaching yet?
No, not right now. I'm gonna talk to Mary Sliff next week.
Yeah, one of the things that I did, again, while I was observing, I observed the places that this is kind of looked down upon, I think, for CSUN people, but I still did it. I went out and observed schools that I had potential ideas of student teaching with. So then I just went out, again, these weren't part of classes, I just went out and I observed you, I watched the band director, I looked at the program as a whole, and then saw if that was a program that I wanted to try and create. That was one of the things I did as well. I went out and started seeing these bigger schools and seeing if I wanted to work with them. I don't know if that's something you should be doing, or if really you have a lot of choice of where you want a student to teach. But I got lucky. I drove very far. It was about a 30-mile drive to where I student taught for the entire semester. It was a lot, but it was a program that I really wanted to see. And then the school, me being at Northview High School right now, I look at that bigger school as just a smaller model. So now I know what it takes to really create that program, and it's just a different process. So. Again, just going out and seeing what's out there and just be ready. It's going to be student teaching is very similar to what it is to being working there every day, because you're there however number of periods, and you're working with kids every day. So it's going to be a very true reflection of your actual teaching, just with someone else. So that's a thing I would say.
Yeah, not too much to add. Just if you look at a bunch of different programs, know which one you kind of want to do. Like Kelvin was saying, they're going to make you do things a certain way. You might not like it, just do it until once you have your own program, you might go, oh wow, that is way better than the way I was going to do it. Or you might say, I hate that, I'm going to do my own thing now. But just essentially you're learning what works for somebody else. Everybody's different. It's not everything's going to work for you. And even if we taught the exact same way, the kids would receive it differently. So just know you're going to get some things that are going to work really well for you, and some things that aren't going to work so well for you, and that's okay. But in terms of preparation, I think you could spend hours and hours getting ready, and then you're still going to feel like you're not ready. So it's okay.
Make sure you go into your daily lesson with a plan. Show it to your teacher, mentor teacher. Make sure he or she kind of reads through it and kind of checks it off that it's okay, because it's very important to be prepared. Like that saying goes, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Okay, so make sure you are prepared. Also, I kind of saw like, you're stepping into this program that is well developed and that is, it's kind of rolling. But I saw it kind of as a model, because once I went to my school, it was like, oh man, why don't I have a string orchestra, and why don't I have this? And it was a little frustrating at first, because you kind of want your program to be just like that, but kind of take it as like, okay, this is kind of like a really good model for further down the line, like what my program can be.
Last thing to add, plan too much. Have way more than you think you need. The worst thing that can ever happen to you as a student teacher or a first year teacher is that you get through your lesson plan and you look at the clock and there's a half an hour left. And the kids are just like looking at you like, okay, well what's next? And you have to come up with something. It's awful. I don't recommend it. As you teach more and more, you don't run into that as much, but just plan extra. Always have something up your sleeve just in case you run out of things to do. Because some things you think that'll be fast take forever. Some things that